Every single day, people walk into my office convinced they're doing everything right. They walk consistently, 30 minutes, sometimes more, and yet they come to me with knee pain, chronic fatigue, numbness in their legs, and a general feeling of getting worse, not better. The first question I ask is always the same. How exactly are you walking? And that's where things get interesting, because the problem almost never is that people walk too little. The problem is that they walk wrong. And wrong walking isn't just wasted effort. It actively destroys your joints, wrecks your posture, overloads your cardiovascular system, and drives chronic inflammation through your tissues. 15 years of practice. I see this picture over and over again. Subscribe and hit like right now. What you're about to hear, nobody is going to tell you at your next appointment. The system profits when you stay sick, not when you get well. Help Dr. Waterling reach 100,000 subscribers. Every single one counts. So let's start with the foundation. Why is walking after 50 not just a pleasant stroll, but a genuine medical necessity? Because after 50, your body launches an entire cascade of physiological changes. They are predictable, they are measurable, and you cannot afford to ignore them. The first change, muscle mass begins to disappear. This process has a name, sarcopenia. That means the gradual age-related loss of muscle tissue. After 50, you lose roughly 1 to 2% of your total muscle mass every single year. That sounds manageable on paper, but over 10 years, that's a loss of 15 to 20% of your total muscle. And muscle is not just about strength. Muscle stabilizes your joints. Muscle regulates your blood sugar, the amount of glucose circulating in your bloodstream. Muscle holds your posture upright. Muscle gives you balance when you walk. Lose enough of it and everything downstream starts to fall apart. The second change, your joints stiffen. Cartilage, the smooth cushioning tissue at the end of your bones, has no blood supply of its own. It gets its nutrition exclusively through movement. When you load a joint and move it, synovial fluid, that's the lubricating fluid inside the joint, gets pushed into the cartilage and delivers the nutrients it needs to stay healthy. Without regular movement, cartilage literally starves. It thins out, it loses elasticity. Eventually, it begins to break down. That breakdown is what we call osteoarthritis, and it is not inevitable. But you can absolutely accelerate it with the wrong habits. The third change, your metabolism slows down. Your basal metabolic rate, that's the number of calories your body burns just to keep itself alive at rest, drops by roughly 2 to 3% every 10 years after 50. That means the exact same lifestyle that kept your weight stable at 30 will cause you to gain weight at 55. Not because you changed anything, because your body changed. The fourth change, circulation becomes less efficient. Your blood vessel walls gradually lose elasticity. Your heart pumps with slightly less power. Peripheral circulation, meaning blood flow to the legs, the feet, the small vessels, deteriorates. This is exactly why so many people over 50 notice cold feet, nighttime leg cramps, and a heavy, tired feeling in their lower legs by the end of the day. And here's the critical point. Walking works on all 4 of those systems at once. It activates muscle. It triggers cartilage nutrition through movement. It accelerates metabolism. It improves circulation. Multiple studies confirm that people who walk regularly have significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, a condition where the body stops managing blood sugar properly, osteoporosis, which is the thinning of bones, and cognitive decline. But, and this is the part nobody tells you, all of that only works when you walk correctly. Walk the wrong way and you don't get a smaller benefit. You get a new problem on top of the old ones. Let's go through every major mistake I see. Starting with mistake number 1. You start your walk too fast. This is probably the single most common mistake I see across every age group, every fitness level. People step outside and immediately hit full pace. It seems logical. Why waste time warming up when you could just get moving? But your body is not a car. You don't just turn a key and have everything running at full capacity. Your body needs time to shift from rest to movement, and that transition cannot be skipped without consequences. Here is what actually happens in your body when you start too fast. First, your muscles are cold. The colder muscle fibers are, the less elastic they are. Less elasticity means higher risk of micro tears. Those are tiny microscopic rips in the muscle tissue that individually cause no symptoms, but accumulate over time and produce chronic pain syndromes. Second, your joints are not yet lubricated. Synovial fluid, the protective liquid inside your joints, pools in certain areas of the joint cavity while you rest. To spread evenly across the entire joint surface and create a protective film between the cartilage surfaces, it needs a few minutes of slow, gradual movement. Start fast and your cartilage is running dry. Third, your cardiovascular system has not adapted. The heart does not like sudden demands. When intensity rises too fast, heart rate spikes and blood pressure jumps more sharply than it needs to. After 50, when your vessels are already less elastic, that sudden spike puts unnecessary stress on the vessel walls. The solution requires 0 additional time. Spend the first 3 to 5 minutes of every single walk moving slowly, deliberately slowly, almost leisurely slowly. That is your warm-up. It is not just for athletes. It is for every person who wants to walk without pain. After 5 minutes of slow walking, your joints are lubricated, your muscles are warm, and your heart has settled into a working rhythm. Now you can pick up the pace. Mistake number 2, wrong posture while walking. Go outside and watch people walk. Most of them are hunched forward, head jutting out in front, shoulders rounded down and forward, eyes aimed at the ground a few feet ahead. This is not just unattractive. This is a biomechanical catastrophe for your spine and your respiratory system. Let me explain the mechanics. An adult human head weighs about 11 pounds. When it sits directly over the spine in neutral position, the neck muscles carry exactly that load. But when the head shifts forward by just 1 to 1.5 inches, the load on the cervical spine, the neck portion of your backbone, increases by roughly 3 times. At 2 inches of forward shift, the load multiplies 4 to 5 times. That means instead of carrying 11 pounds, your neck and upper back muscles are now holding 45 to 55 pounds continuously. Walk like that for 20 or 30 minutes and you generate chronic muscle tension in the neck, shoulders, and the base of the skull. This is why so many people come home from a walk with a neck ache. It is not a draft. It is not old age. It is posture. The second hit lands on your lungs. When your chest is compressed and your shoulders are rolled forward, your diaphragm, the primary breathing muscle, a dome-shaped muscle below the lungs, cannot fully descend. Your lungs cannot fully expand. You breathe shallow, using only the top portion of your chest. Your body receives less oxygen than it should. Less oxygen means less energy for your muscles and your brain. You walk for 30 minutes and feel like you walked for an hour. People blame this on age or poor fitness. The real culprit is posture. There is a third consequence that almost nobody mentions. Bad walking posture disrupts the entire biomechanical chain. Head forward, the lower back compensates with an exaggerated arch, the pelvis tilts, the knees begin operating at the wrong angle. The load on your knee and hip joints increases. Not because you are old, because of one specific, correctable mechanical error. How to fix it? Picture a thin thread attached to the top of your head pulling you gently upward. This does not mean straining or forcing yourself tall. It simply means allowing your spine to decompress and straighten. Shoulders relaxed, drawn slightly back, not a military stance, just your natural anatomical position. Eyes forward on the horizon, not at the pavement. Chin parallel to the ground, chest open. In this position, your lungs work at full capacity. Your neck carries no excess load, and your spine distributes weight the way it was designed to. Mistake number 3, the wrong shoes. This is the topic people pay the least attention to. Shoes are the last thing anyone thinks about when choosing a walking route or deciding how long to go. That is a serious mistake because for your joints, there is nothing more important than what sits between your foot and the ground. 2 things happen with age that make footwear critically important. First, the fat pads on the soles of your feet thin out. These pads existed as natural shock absorbers. They softened the impact of your heel hitting the ground with every step. Now that natural cushioning is diminished. That means your shoes must pick up the slack. If they don't, every ground impact travels straight up the chain. Ankle, knee, hip, lower back. Second, the muscles and ligaments of the foot weaken with age. The arch of the foot can begin to collapse. This is called acquired flat foot. Flat foot changes the entire load angle on the knee, shifts the axis of the hip joint, and increases spinal stress. Good shoes with proper arch support can meaningfully slow that process. What you need in a walking shoe. First, adequate cushioning in both the heel and the forefoot. The sole must be soft enough to absorb impact, but not so soft that your foot sinks without support. Second, arch support. This does not mean a rigid insole. It means the inner shape of the sole follows the natural anatomy of your foot and prevents the arch from collapsing inward. Third, a flexible sole in the front portion. When you walk, your foot needs to bend at the ball, the wide front part of the foot. If the entire sole is rigid, it disrupts the natural heel-to-toe roll and overloads the calf muscles and the Achilles tendon, the large tendon at the back of your ankle. One more thing about shoes, wear. Many people are walking in sneakers or athletic shoes they bought 2 or 3 years ago. The outside may look perfectly fine, but the cushioning materials in the midsole, the layer between the outer rubber and the inner lining, lose their shock-absorbing properties long before the shoe looks worn. If you walk regularly, replace your walking shoes approximately once a year. That is not a commercial pitch. That is osteoarthritis prevention. Mistake number 4, you walk rarely but for long distances when you do. This is an extremely common pattern. People are busy during the week, so they take one long walk on the weekend, an hour, sometimes 2. They come home tired, feel virtuous, and consider it their weekly fitness requirement. From a physiological standpoint, this approach is fundamentally wrong. Your body does not respond to isolated bursts of activity. It responds to repeated, consistent signals. Every time you walk, your body receives a message. Physical activity is the norm. In response to that message, your heart gradually becomes more efficient, your blood vessels adapt, your muscles strengthen, your metabolism stays active. This is called training adaptation, and it only occurs with repeated, regular signals. One walk a week is too weak a signal. The body never adapts. The benefit stays minimal. Worse than that, a single long walk after several days of complete rest is a stress event for unprepared muscles. They are cold, unadapted, and on the following day, they hurt. People draw the conclusion, walking is not for me, my joints are weak. That is the wrong conclusion. The joints are likely fine, the loading pattern is wrong. Evidence-based medicine is clear on this. 20 to 30 minutes of walking on most days of the week is the minimum effective dose for your cardiovascular system. That is the regimen that reduces your risk of heart attack, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Not one long Sunday walk, but 5 to 6 shorter walks per week. Your body adapts to what repeats, only to what repeats. If you currently walk once a week, start with 3 times. Not necessarily 20 minutes, start with 10. After 2 weeks, add 5 more minutes. Gradual progression here is not weakness, it is strategy. Mistake number 5, your arms are motionless while you walk. Most people either hold their arms stiff at their sides, let them hang, or shove them in their pockets. It seems comfortable. In reality, it strips away a significant portion of walking's benefits and disrupts movement mechanics. Here is why. Walking is not just leg work. It is a whole body cross-pattern movement. When your left leg steps forward, your right arm swings forward and vice versa. This pattern, called cross-coordination, is hardwired into your nervous system. It distributes the load across your spine symmetrically and reduces the sideways twisting force on your trunk with every step. When your arms don't move, your spine must compensate for that asymmetry by over-rotating in the lower back region. For people who already have lower back issues, this can trigger pain. Second point, arm swing recruits the muscles of the shoulders, chest, and upper back. That means during a walk with proper arm movement, significantly more total muscle mass is active than during a walk with static arms. More active muscle means higher caloric expenditure, better circulation, more active metabolism. The exact same distance, walked with proper arm swing, delivers a stronger physiological effect. Third point, arm movement sets rhythm and improves coordination. This becomes especially important after 50 when coordination gradually declines. A steady, rhythmic arm swing helps maintain a consistent stride and reduces the risk of losing balance. How to do it correctly. Bend your elbows slightly, roughly 90 degrees. Allow them to swing forward and back in natural rhythm, opposite to your leg movement. You do not need the exaggerated pumping action of competitive race walkers. Just stop pinning your arms to your body. After a few walks, you will feel the difference. Walking becomes easier and more rhythmic almost immediately. Mistake number 6, walking with your phone in your hand. 20 years ago, this mistake did not exist. Today, it is one of the most widespread things I see. People walk and look at a screen, reading messages, scrolling through a feed, and they believe they are taking care of their health. They are not. Start with posture. When you look at a phone you are holding in front of you, or worse, down by your waist, your head tilts downward. We already established what that does to the cervical spine. The load on your neck muscles increases 3 to 5 times. Your shoulders round forward, your chest compresses, breathing becomes shallow. Everything we discussed about poor posture happens, but now it is actively reinforced and intensified. Because with a phone, your head is angled lower than it would be with ordinary slouching. Now consider safety. After 50, the vestibular system, the balance and orientation system in your inner ear, begins to operate with slightly less precision. Proprioception, your body's sense of its own position and movement in space, also begins to fade. This is a normal, gradual process of aging. What it means is that your brain increasingly relies on visual input to maintain balance while walking. When your eyes are on a screen instead of the path ahead, your brain is deprived of its most critical source of spatial information. You stop seeing uneven pavement, curbs, steps, wet surfaces, sudden drops. The risk of a fall rises substantially. A fall after 50 is not just getting up, brushing yourself off, and moving on. It frequently means a fractured wrist, fractured ribs, or, most seriously, a hip fracture. A hip fracture in someone over 60 means extended immobilization, surgery, and a lengthy rehabilitation period. The prevention is as simple as it gets. Put the phone in your pocket. And one final argument. Walking is not just a physical exercise. It is a neurological one. When you walk while paying attention to the road, the sensations in your body, your breathing, your surroundings, you are actively training attention, coordination, and spatial awareness. That is genuine, documented benefit for your brain. When you watch your phone, that benefit disappears. Your legs are moving, but your brain is occupied elsewhere. Let a walk be a walk. Mistake number 7, ignoring recovery after walking. Nobody talks about this, not in a clinic, not in a gym. The general assumption is that walking is such a light activity that no recovery is required. That assumption is wrong. Start with water. Muscle tissue is 70 to 75% water. Every biochemical process in muscle, contraction, relaxation, repair after exercise, happens in an aqueous environment. Even mild dehydration, a 1 to 2% reduction in your body's fluid stores, measurably reduces muscle elasticity, slows recovery, and increases the risk of cramping. After a walk, drink a glass of water. That is not advice from a sports drink advertisement. That is basic physiology. Now about stretching. During walking, your muscles work in a shortening mode. They contract repeatedly. Without stretching afterward, they remain slightly shortened after you stop. Over time, this accumulates. Muscles become tight and rigid, joint range of motion decreases, and a persistent feeling of stiffness develops. This is most pronounced in the calves, the back of the thighs, and the lower back. 5 minutes of gentle stretching after every walk prevents this entirely. And about rest days. Many people reason that if walking is good, more walking is better. That is not how adaptation works. Your body does not adapt during exercise. It adapts during recovery. That is when muscle fibers reinforce themselves, when joints remodel in response to load, when the cardiovascular system restructures to handle the new demands. If you never give your body recovery time, adaptation does not occur. 1 to 2 rest days per week is not laziness. It is the correct protocol. Think of your walk not as an isolated exercise, but as part of a system. Movement, water, stretching, rest. Only as a complete system does it produce durable, long-term results. Now, here is an important clinical observation that ties everything together. All 7 of these mistakes carry different levels of risk depending on your age. The damage caused by poor posture, worn out shoes, and missing recovery time is 2 to 3 times more serious after 50 than it is at 30, because the resilience of your joints, blood vessels, and muscles decreases over time. The same mistake your body forgave at 30 without consequence will generate real symptoms at 55. How old are you? Write it in the comments. I want to know which age group this material hits closest to home for, so I can focus future content on exactly where you are right now. Now, a clear, practical conclusion. Here is exactly what to do after watching this. 1. Adopt the slow start rule. The first 3 to 5 minutes of every walk, slow pace only. No exceptions. This costs you 0 additional time. You are simply starting slower. 2. Check your posture right now. Stand up, straighten your spine, draw your head gently upward, release your shoulders, and ease them slightly back. Hold that position. Memorize that feeling. Reproduce it every time you walk out the door. 3. Pick up your walking shoes and look at the soles. If they are unevenly worn, if you have been walking in them for more than a year consistently, it is time to replace them. This is one of the simplest, highest return investments you can make in your joint health. 4. Stop the one long walk a week habit. 20 to 30 minutes of walking 5 to 6 days a week, that is the target. If that seems like too much right now, start with 3 days. Add 1 day every 2 weeks. Gradual is sustainable. 5. Let your arms move. Bend your elbows, relax your shoulders, and allow your arms to swing in natural rhythm. Take them out of your pockets. 6. Phone goes in your pocket for the entire walk. No exceptions. If you need audio, music, a podcast, use earbuds. Just keep the screen out of your hands. 7. After every walk, a glass of water and 5 minutes of stretching. 5 minutes. That is what stands between you and chronic muscle stiffness. Walking is one of the most accessible, safe, and effective tools available for maintaining your health after 50. You do not need a gym. You do not need expensive equipment. You do not need any special preparation. You need the right habits and a conscious approach. Small changes in how you walk produce real, long-term results for your heart, your joints, your brain, and your overall well-being. Nobody in a clinic is going to walk you through this. It is simply not how that system operates. It profits from treatment, not from prevention. That is exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling, leave a like on this video, and help us reach 100,000 subscribers. One informed, healthy person at a time.